Welcome to Amma Manson Network. Welcome to Commodacity on Facebook and on YouTube. If you have not yet subscribed to Commodacity, go on over, click that subscribe button. And for those on Facebook, please like and please share. Please follow the page. So this morning I want to talk about superpowers. Superpowers. I know for me as a child growing up, watching cartoons, you were exposed to all of these characters who have superhuman abilities. And some of them were born this way, some were exposed to different things. As a matter of fact, I wanted to just read a short little thing, superheroes, how the superheroes got their various powers, what were the sources of these powers. So this particular source says radiation, so exposure to radioactive waste or radiation. So Spider-Man and the Hulk got their powers from radioactive accidents. Right? Some superheroes got their powers from scientific experiments. So like Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America were enhanced by scientific experiments. Some were born with their super abilities, like Black Panther and Deadpool. I don't think I'm familiar with Deadpool. I don't think I've ever heard of that superhero. But they were born with their abilities. Some were exposed to extraterrestrial objects, right? Some superheroes got their powers from exposure to extraterrestrial objects. Some use magical artifacts. So some superheroes got their powers from magical artifacts, and some of them even just putting on their costume, the costume itself, right? When you put that on, it gives you that power. It just comes over you. It's similar to, I would guess, putting on your uniform, and upon putting on your uniform, that whole role, your demeanor changes. It's like you become your alter ego, right? A different persona. You take on a different persona. I love uniforms. I love seeing people in uniforms, whether it's school children or people on the job. It just gives that sense of purpose, camaraderie, all of those things. So the uniform is almost magical when you put it on. It's similar to the superhero outfit, the costume that they wear. But a common thread through all this superhero business is that you go through something, or you go through some kind of transformation. You're either exposed to something, or you put something on, or some kind of accident, you get bitten by something, and it causes you to toughen up. It causes you to become more resistant to the environment. It causes you to have superhuman capabilities. For some of us, we go through things in life that really serve to toughen us up, and we get to a point where we don't react in the same way as we used to, or we don't react in the same way that most people do. And sometimes we're looked on as being rigid and cold and maybe unfeeling, but that's not necessarily the case. It's just how you have adapted. It's how you have you kind of put on an armor so that you're able to survive in the environment that you're in. Right? So I'm asking you, what is your superpower? What is that special thing that you have, that special knack that you have for making a positive influence on the world or on the people around you? You walk into a room and you're able to cause a particular response, you're even without saying a word, right? Or you do a particular thing and you're able to get a particular outcome that most persons aren't able to get. I believe we each have something unique, something special about us. Maybe we haven't all been able to tap into it as yet, but it's latent, it's there. It's just for you to find out what is your superpower. For me, I would say my superpower is being able to remain calm. I'm as cool as a cucumber in most cases. In situations where I might flare up, I would say it's like you still have the situation under control. You understand what is happening and you have that ability even to bring it back down, right? But in most instances, I would say that I just have that ability to remain calm in stressful situations, right? There are particular things that are pet peeves, and so I would become annoyed. For example, if I'm working with anything technological, I don't have much patience with technological things, anything technical. So if I'm working with my sewing machine or even working on my computer on my phone and some little glitch, I'm easy to snap in that way. I don't like those kind of glitches. I don't like I like when things do what they're supposed to do. And so yeah, I might lose my cool in instances like that, right? Where something is not doing what it's supposed to do. Even though I know that I put a lot of pressure on my devices. So I do try to be patient. I try to be patient with them. But in cases like that, yeah, I will snap. But overall, in situations, especially when other people are involved, when other people come into my space and try to evoke a particular response from me, I have my faculties under control. I have my temper under control. And I think that is a power. It's a power because people will try to pull you out and they will try to get you even to undermine your own self by flaring up. They will do things to trigger you and they expect particular responses from you. And one of the best things you can do is to not react, to not respond in the way that they expected you to not lose your cool. And that is a knack for me. Ever since I was little, that's how I've been. I remember in high school, maybe in second form, third form. So we used to have these earthquake drills. And so they would ring the bell and everybody would go outside and line up and whatever. And we would have these drills from time to time. And then I remember once there was an actual earthquake, right? And we were upstairs because I think my class was on the third floor. And the buildings were shaking and everybody was screaming and carrying on. And I was just there, so composed, so cool. And we filed downstairs. And I remember all my friends were saying, how can you be so calm? How can you, we're all freaking out. We're all running all over the place and not doing what you are supposed, not going by the guidelines of the drill, right? Everybody threw that out the window. Nobody remember anything about what the drill said you're supposed to do. This was a real earthquake, a real crisis situation, and everybody was just flustered. And I remember just being so calm, and my friends were all commenting about that. And this is how, I remember having interactions with people on the road. Like you go into a vehicle and the operator might, they're so easily triggered and so volatile, easily triggered and volatile and reactive. And you don't expect these things to happen, so they just happen from out of nowhere, and you have to be able to maintain your composure, because the slightest indication from you that you're going to take it to the level that they're at, things can escalate to the point where the point of no return, right? I've had altercations with parents who, for whatever reason, even though you go through with them the guidelines that they're supposed to follow, you go through the rules of the school that I operate, and they might have grouses and they come with, so much anger and so much frustration, and they want to take it out on you. They're boisterous. They're very scandalous in their behavior. And in all of these instances, I would say probably 3 such instances in the past school year. And I've just maintained my composure in the midst of it. I've been able to just stand there, speak calmly, clearly, without raising my voice, because I'm not going to compete with anybody who's shouting at me. We're not going to have a who can raise the voice higher, who can scream the loudest. I'm not going to be involved in that with anyone. Right? Maintain my composure, maintain my voice, say what I need to say it clearly and consistently until you just gradually see the fire going out in them. Because if you meet them where they are with the same fire that they're bringing, which is their intention, they want you to burn down what you have built, right? So they come with the fuel, they come with the fire, and they want you to meet them with that, to burn down what you have built, because they have nothing to lose. So for me, in realizing how much I have to lose and realizing how much I have worked and put into what I have a lot to lose. And so I am not going to put that on the line. I've been able to maintain my composure. When a couple years ago, maybe 20, that almost 25 years ago, I was at home with my 2 toddlers. I think I was hanging out clothes on the line, and there was a freak accident in which a cable worker fell from the roof, and he was spiked by a metal rail, right? And I remember him, you know, struggling, coming in up. He was just walking into the yard towards me, and I was saying, at the time, I didn't even realize what was happening. I just saw this man with blood gushing from his neck. I had my toddlers beside me. I was hanging out the clothes, and he was so desperately trying to cry for help, right? Until he stumbled and he fell, and he actually passed away right there in front of me. That was the first time I remember seeing someone actually pass away in front of me. And I just knew that I had to remain calm for myself and for my toddlers who were there. I had to be strong for them. I was not screaming. I mean, everybody else around were screaming and running up and down, and I was just calm. I actually had to, when everything was over and done, I had to be there washing away the blood from out of my yard. This is somebody who was a stranger to me. He was just working in the area putting up cables. Total stranger to me. There was nothing I or anyone really could have done to help him at that time, right? Because of the type of accident that he had. And so I just had to be strong for my kids. This is the home that we lived in. This is where I had to sleep. For persons who believe in ghosts and things like that, I just had to deal with that. Someone just died in my yard. I'm here alone with my kids. Life goes on, right? I just had to deal with that. And I remember I was not flustered at all. Another similar situation, well, in this case, this one brought life. The one I just told you about was death. This one brought life. I was pregnant with my second child, and even though we had made arrangements for me to be taken to the hospital, the baby came at home. And my 4-year-old daughter was there. She witnessed me having to give birth in my bathroom. And I remember just being so calm, just so composed, going through just remembering in my mind all that I had read about birth and what needs to be done. And I just allowed it to happen, and I did what I had to do to ensure that my baby was safe. And there have been so many other situations in my life where I have been able in crisis, in real crisis situations, where most other persons would just freak out and let go and just give in, and I have been able to remain calm. I think one of the reasons for this is because from very early on, I became involved in meditation, affirmations, just especially in recording my own voice with calming, positive, soothing, powerful words. And this is something I've carried with me from a teenager, because I started delving into meditation and mind power and spirituality from a teenager. And this has become a part of my daily routine, my affirmations, meditation, positive thinking, power of mind, right? And I really do believe that that has helped me to hone this skill, this power that I have. Calm is my power. What is your superpower? There are some things that come to my mind when I think of persons with superpowers. Some of them, for me, they're funny, in that, yeah, they're not really superpowers, but I tend to think of them as superpowers because they stand out in my mind. And maybe you will share my feeling too, or maybe you can relate and think of someone who is similar to this, right? So I remember, for example, when I was growing up, there was this lady in my community, and she would always go to funerals, everybody's funeral. She didn't have to know the person, she didn't have to know your relative, she didn't have to be associated with you in any way. Once she heard that there was a death in the family, or a death in the community, sorry, she would ensure that she would go to help see the person off. And when I was little, like I said, I used to find this very hilarious. We used to laugh at this lady. When I've grown and look back at that situation, I'm saying, that was a really cool thing for her to do. That was a really super duper thing to do. It's her way of being there. She didn't have to know this person, but I think she understood what it meant for you to have someone there representing, just someone there to say, okay, I am aware that you have passed and I'm acknowledging your life, and I've come to share in the celebration of your life. And I think that was a noble thing to do, actually. Looking back now with adult eyes, no, I don't laugh at that lady anymore. That was a super duper thing to do, right? Even though the deceased wouldn't necessarily, depending on your beliefs, the deceased wouldn't be aware of her doing this, but just the act of doing it shows, right, that she understood the importance of having persons there mourning the loss of you. And on behalf of all those who had passed, I would say I appreciate that lady. She too now has passed, right? She too now has passed. And I would only hope that she got a great turnout for all the efforts that she had put in to ensuring that other persons got a good turnout. Right. I think of my grandma, and my grandmother is very, very special to me. She passed away quite a while ago, and but I do remember that when we were growing up, my grandma would always ensure that we had something to eat wherever she would get it from. I think that was my grandma's superpower. It was a superpower because looking back and realizing, because when you're little, you tend not to realize how poor you are. You know, you, especially growing up in the country, you're running up and down, you're having fun, you're enjoying life. There's sunshine, there are trees, there are fruits. You're alive. And everybody, well, most other persons around you are in similar situations. So there's nothing to compare with. So you just know you're alive, you're happy. Looking back, now you realize, hey, we were poor. But my grandma, no matter what was happening, no matter, and we all, I look back now and I realize that, hey, this lady may have had to go and borrow money, go to the shop and trust things, take out things on credit. Whatever she had to do, all we know is that we never went to bed hungry. A lot of mothers, grandmothers, providers, they are superheroes in this sense that they take it as their duty to ensure that their loved ones are cared for, and sometimes they put themselves in debt, they put themselves in even compromising situations, um, things that their dignity comes under attack, and they're willing to go through that to ensure that their babies are fed, right? And for this, I really appreciate my grandma for that. My grandpa was there too as well. But in terms of, that militance and ensuring that we ate, my grandma saw to it, and that for me was her superpower. She had that power to hold the family together. She was the matriarch of the family. She fed people. She invited people into our home. Distant cousins. We almost always had somebody staying with us, and sometimes the one room would have 3 beds, and each bed would have 3, 4 persons sleeping on it. We were an extended family, and we were held together by that. My grandma was the glue, that she was the super glue. And when she passed, we saw that it persons gradually pulled apart, you know, not completely apart, but gradually drifted away. I am pretty sure if my grandma was still here, my family would be a more close knit family unit, my extended family. So that was her power, and it is a superpower. Um, my one of my uncle, you have some persons who maybe their superpower is the ability to eat, and it's such a power that they are able to eat, and they don't even get fat. One of my uncles, especially when he was growing up, that was his superpower. So we would have, in Jamaica, we have a thing called running boat, you run boats. So everybody would put together, and you'd put on the pot on the wooden fire, and you would hustle around to see what you can get. And usually you come up with some flour to make some dumplings, or some cornmeal to make some dumplings. So my uncle, he was just ravenous, always hungry. Or he would, whenever he would be out in the community, in the afternoons, as soon as my grandma took the pot from the fire, he would know. That was his superpower. He would know when dinner was ready, wherever in the village he was. When we run boats, first dumpling come to the top of the water, because that's when the flour dumplings finish cook, rise to the top of the fire, the pot, he would be the first one. I remember my uncle said to me when I was little, I don't like food. And I said to him, don't be silly. Everybody know how crazy you are. Don't tell me that you don't like food. And he said, no, no, I really don't like food. That's why I eat it, to get rid of it. I don't like food, so I just eat it. I don't like to see it. That was his superpower. Another uncle of mine, when we were growing up, he was the one who was in charge of fixing the TV antenna so that we could see. Because, of course, growing up in the 80s, most persons had a black and white television set, and the antenna had to be outside, attached to the house, right? And sometimes the reception would be terrible, and you had to go there and adjust and adjust and adjust, and somebody would have to be on the inside telling you, okay, go that way, go that way, go that way, until you get the picture. Well, one of my uncles, his superpower was being able to adjust the antenna. As soon as he touches it, it's fine. And you're able to see the picture clearly, right? So we relied on him to be able to do that. I have a friend of mine, his superpower is being able to fix things. Anything that needs to be fixed, he will fix it. And many times, he's able to fix things that nobody else is able to fix. I would have things that go wrong, and I call in this person, I call in that person, I call in the other person, paying sums of money for them to do this. And everybody would come and they would try, and they would leave saying, okay, it's good. Within a very short time, it's back to ground zero. This friend of mine, there have been so many things that he has been able to fix, to really sort out after they have been given problems for years and years and nobody has been able to solve them. That is his superpower. That's his knack. He just has a knack to be able to look at the thing, to analyze it, to see what's wrong, and he has the dedication to, he will sit there for hours figuring out what is wrong with this thing, what is the problem, figuring it out until he's able to fix it, right? So some persons, that is their superpower. They fix things, right? You have some persons, they are able to work the room, right? They own the room. They enter the room and all eyes are on them. They have that charisma. They just have that presence. And these kinds of persons, that is a very powerful thing because they are influential. They can influence you to like what they like, to agree with what they say because they're likable. That is their power. And it's a superpower. You have persons in sales who they are able to just sell almost anything. They are able to sell almost anything at all. That is their superpower, the ability to convince someone to part with their well-earned cash. In Jamaica, we have a saying, some people have the ability to sell water to a drowning man. Some people can sell water to a drowning man. They can convince you to do things against your better judgment. You're doing it and you know it's counterintuitive. Your soul not agreeing with it, but you just find yourself doing it. That's how influential some persons are. That is their superpower, the ability to influence. Some of us use our powers for good, and some of us use our powers for bad. Have you identified what your superpower is? And have you been using it for good or for bad? I believe my superpower serves me for good. It serves others too because people feed on your energy. There are people who rely on your calmness. I know that a lot of persons depend on me to remain calm. So I have children who I teach every day. They rely on me to maintain a certain composure so that even if they are agitated, even if they are scared, let's say they're going into tests, they're going into their exams, right? They're, so they're flustered, they're nervous, and it's good for them to know that there's someone who can maintain their composure and bring down their own anxiety, right? So that they can feed on that calmness. They can feed on that and they can rely on that. Can you imagine if my students were to come to school and I was agitated, I was nervous, I was anxious and flustered? It would disorient them. It would really disorient them. There are certain situations and certain professions in which calmness, it almost comes with the territory, because based on the nature of the profession, those who you care for, they rely on you to be stable, they rely on you to be firm and decisive, even if even if you have to do things that go against their wishes, but they're happy to know that you can be firm and decisive. They don't want you to dilly dally, because that would eventually trickle down to them and they would become flustered, right? So you have to be in charge and maintain that composure. It benefits you and it benefits them. So my children rely on me to be calm and to be sure. And even though they know that, because I always tell my students, I'm human, I make mistakes, I'm willing to own up to my mistakes. You can point out things that you think are errors, and I will look at it and I will admit to them if they turn out to be errors, right? So there's that. They must know that you are human and you are fallible. But at the same time, for the most part, they must be able to rely on your stability, right? And so I'm happy that I have that superpower, my ability to remain calm, maintain my composure. I always, sometimes I laugh to myself and I say that if there was a crisis, or let's say there was some kind of accident and it happened that I had to defend myself, right? And somebody's life was lost, or as a result of me defending myself. I always laugh and say, if I turn up in court because of my composure, which would be almost abnormal in the situation, because you would expect, especially a woman, to be freaking out if she caused someone to lose their life, even if she was defending herself, right? She would be freaking out. I don't think I would be freaking out. And I would probably come under suspicion. Maybe I would have a hard time convincing anyone that it was defense and not offense, because I'm almost sure I would just be so calm. And maybe the judge would say, no, man, you can't be so calm. You must have been the one who premeditated this. I always play that in my head and say, what if something like that were to happen? I would have a hard time defending myself in court, convincing someone that I was not the perpetrator, because there I would not be freaking out. Although, you never can tell. Things might happen and it's unpredictable. You might find yourself freaking out. Who knows? But it's just that it's never been that way with me. And so I don't anticipate that there would be a situation where I would be freaking out and, lose my cool and go in berserk. I just can't picture that happening because it's never been the case. And So hopefully that kind of situation never happens where I have to go into court and prove my innocence for something like that. Um, so, like I read for you earlier, the fact that the superheroes are presented as persons who basically have gone through some kind of adversity, some kind of transition that made them gain the ability to do above normal things, right? Superhuman things. So, what I would encourage is that when you go through adversities, you can look at it as a way of, look at it in a positive way, then to say, okay, this did not kill me, so I'm going to let it strengthen me. In Jamaica, also, we have a saying, wanna kill, fatten, right? Wanna kill, fatten. You go through it, you're still here, let it serve you. Let it add to your super skills. Let it thicken you and toughen you up, right? So that things, I like to think of myself as being just unfazed, unbothered, undaunted. Just tell yourself those three words whenever you're going through anything trying, anything stressful. Just say unfazed, unbothered, undaunted. Don't be phased by what's going on. Things must be able to come in and flow off you and flow away from you without putting you through any turmoil, internal turmoil, where you start questioning yourself, you start questioning why are you here and what are you doing and who are you. Things should not have that kind of effect on you. Right? Try to know your purpose and try to act in your purpose and live in your purpose, so that when the trials come, they only serve to strengthen you because they can't stop you. Right? You're not going to be daunted by it. Take step by step, plow through step by step. Work your way through it, right? Regardless of how long it takes. We also need to be careful about women in particular, and Black women in particular. We have taken on this role as a superwoman, a super mom. We need to be careful of that because it can cause us to take on too much stress and too many duties and responsibilities, trying to prove that we are superhuman. Based on past experiences, we know that women have had to step in cases where the men fell short. A lot of women had to step in, or grandmas or moms, and be or try to be the father figure where there was none, right? Try to provide, try to, so she had to be working, she had to come home, she had to do everything, she had to attend to the kids, she had to do this and that, and trying to keep things together. And so she was celebrated for that. And now we're at the point where a lot of women still feel that this is the persona she must carry, right? And I think it's too much. this superhero, super mom, superwoman thing. It's too much for a human woman to carry. She shouldn't have to carry it. She shouldn't want to carry it, right? So we have to delegate the duties back, balance things out so that everybody does what they're supposed to do. We even have women going into partnerships with that attitude that, okay, I'm going to be the one carrying most of the weight of this. Already she has that intention. She has accepted that this is how it's going to be. This kind of thing we have to change. We have to change that because it's detrimental to the society as a whole, because women are being depleted, exhausted. It's too much that we have to carry. We're expected to work, do a job. We're expected to come home, work at home, to take care of the home, take care of the kids, take care of this and that and that. And it is just too much. We have to insist that there is balance in our relationships, in our family life, in our society. We have to insist that there is balance, right? And don't accept this. It feels good, to say, okay, superwoman, super mom. Yeah, it feels good, but at the base of it is exhaustion, is burnout, is becoming old before your time, it's becoming disoriented and becoming disillusioned with life because you're taking on more than you should, right? So that kind of thing, that narrative, I don't subscribe to, and it's something I want to see gotten rid of. I want us to have a more positive and a more balanced outlook on life, where as regards male, female roles in relationships, in families, in social life, right? So yeah, we have to strike that balance. On the personal level, if you want to consider the strengths that you have, if you want to consider them as superhero strengths, right? Superpowers. For me, that's fine. Like I said, I do believe I have a superpower. It's not the only one. I think writing is my superpower as well. I have a knack for it. I have a way with words, as it is said. And if we can identify the strengths that we have and hone them and capitalize on them, then by all means, right? Because these are gifts, but we have to learn to balance it. We can't overdo it, and we can't make, because of this and the titles that we were given, we allow people to use us and to manipulate us, right? We have to allow everybody to do what they're supposed to do. Everybody participate, take a fair share of what needs to be done, right? No matter how super we are, we need help. We need contribution from those who are going to benefit from whatever we're involved in, right? Everybody must contribute. So I would want each of you who is listening, right? Ask yourself, what is my superpower? What is it about me that is unique and powerful, and it causes positive reaction in others? What is it about me that is really, really special? What do I bring to the world, right? Is it my way of dealing with kids? Do I have that special ability to make children feel loved, to make children learn? Do I have a special knack with the elderly? Do I have a special skill in, like I said, that with my friend, he's able to fix things? Do I have a special skill in terms of interpersonal relationships, bringing people together, keeping people together, right? A lot of persons who are in counseling, who are counselors, right? Whether guidance counselors at school or therapists, relationship therapists, they have the ability to see the crux of the problem and to help persons to identify what the problem is, right? This is how we can serve our communities. This is how we can serve each other, by helping persons to identify what the problem is. That within itself, that's the first step towards solving the problem, is identifying what is the problem, right? Conflict resolution. Some persons have that knack to be able to bridge the gap between warring factors. This one over here, that one over here, they can't agree, they can't see eye to eye. You might have the knack to enable them to come together and to resolve whatever issues they're having. You might be the one in your family who is able to, as we say, bring the family back together, right? You might have that knack, the negotiating power, or the ability to understand each person and where they're coming from, what growth they're having, and then you bring everybody to the table and say, okay, this is the situation, this is what's the problem is, this is how we're going to solve it, right? If you have a knack for teaching, not everybody can teach. You might know the thing, but some persons aren't able to explain it to somebody else for them to know it. Not everybody can teach, right? It takes a certain temperament even to get information across without losing your cool after the first two explanations. So if you have that knack, the ability to transfer information to someone else so that they get it, so that it resonates with them and they understand, that might be your calling. Find what it is. What is your superpower? You have one. And that particular thing is what you came into the world to do. I was joking earlier about, my uncle having the superpower to eat, and, my other uncle having the superpower to fix the antenna. Yeah, I'm joking about those kind of things, but each of us has a particular ability to do something special for others, to work special magic in the world. It is your unique ability. You need to find what that is. Think back on, sorry, coming up, from your little coming up. Think back and say, what is it that people are always saying about me? What is it that I seem to have this knack for? Find that, build on it, develop it, right? That is your strength. And that is the light that you should carry in the world. That is the light that you should carry. When you find that power, I want you to use it for good. Because listen, it can go any which way. There's always the possibility that you can use something for good or you can use it for bad, right? You can use it for good, you can use it for bad. Those who are very influential and you have the ability to get people to agree with you, to follow you, you can lead them up the mountain or you can lead them into the ravine, into the dungeon, into the precipice. You can use it any which way. So I encourage you to use it to add beauty to the world, use it to empower others, use it to enlighten others, to make things a little more clear for them, use it to help a child, use it to make life a little more bearable for those who were not as fortunate as the rest of us, right? Use your power for good. Whatever your superpower is, use it for good. I know mine, or at least my strongest superpower, is calmness. To be able to remain calm, not to allow anyone to pull me out. I'm not saying that I'm able to do this all the time, right? It's a superpower. At the same time, I'm still a human. Sometimes, yeah, I'll flip. Sometimes I'll let people pull me out. For the most part, though, I'm unfazed, unbothered, undaunted. Find your superpower and use it for good. Until next week, where we talk about something else, another interesting topic. This is Kama. Have a great week. And remember, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So take care of yourself until next week.